All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. So, as we know, many world leaders and dignitaries are gathering in New York for all kinds of talks and other important meetings. And hot on everybody's mind will be climate change and the crisis that we are facing. So, we have teamed up with the Explorers Club in New York to host some scientists, some explorers, filmmakers, people who are out researching the problems, researching the issues, documenting them so they can bring stories back to us. And then, of course, who are looking for solutions to the climate change that we are seeing around the world. Now, if you head over to our website, exploringbytheseat.com, under the event tab, you can find climate change or it's Climate Week NYC, and that's where you'll find all the live events we have coming up this week. And we are ranging a large amount of topics from Paul Salopek's Out of Eden Walk, where he is walking through the countries of our planet and documenting human stories, to citizen science with Hearts in the Ice, to sea ice melting with expeditions in the Arctic who are documenting what's happening. So today we have something really special. We are bringing youth into the conversation. So we are going to be joined shortly by Emily, who is the director of Peace Boat US. And then we're also going to have youth joining us for the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs scholars. And we're going to hear about some of their exciting travels for the UN decade of the ocean on board the ship, the MV Pacific World. So I'm going to bring Emily in with us right now. Let's get Emily in here front and center. Hey, Emily, how you doing today?
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here live from Climate Week in New York City.
I imagine it's a busy week. I can see the skyline in the background. What's the week been like for you so far, Emily?
Oh, it's been incredible. We started off our week with an event at the United Nations for the Weekend of Action, SDGs, where we held a side event with our youth leaders. And we've been really active in all kinds of events around the city. So looking forward to the grand finale, which is coming up soon, when the Peace Boat is docking in New York on September 30th. So we're going to continue all the way to the end of the month.
All right, excellent. Well, I know you're going to talk to us a little bit about Peace Boat. Then we're going to get to meet some of the youth. So I'm going to let you take over for a little bit.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, welcome, everybody. We're so excited to be here with all of you. Again, my name is Emily McClone, and I work as the director of Peace Boat US. And we have all of our youth leaders here today. And I'm going to be sharing a little bit of our programs, first of all, on what Peace Boat does as an organization and how all of our youth leaders are making a positive change in the world. So hopefully, let's see if you guys can all see my screen here. All right. So we've got our youth leaders. I'm just going to introduce briefly. We have Ariana Abdul Noor from the UK who's going to be joining us, Molly Roseanne from Peace Boat US and Blue Planet Alliance, Amy Harv, Mark Haber, and Francisco Lara. So we have all of these youth leaders who've joined us on board the Peace Boat, and they're going to be sharing their stories with you. So I'd like to share with you, first of all, a bit about Peace Boat. And this is our ship. It's called the MV Pacific World. Right now, this ship holds 1,800 people on board traveling around the world. And this is our second global voyage on board our new ship. And Peace Boat has been traveling the world already for 40 years as an international organization promoting peace and sustainability through our programs on board. We also carry with us the Nobel Peace Prize on board, which we received in 2017 as part of ICAN, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. And we have around 2,000 people who are able to sail with us on board each voyage, visiting around 100 ports of call every year. Each voyage that we travel on is accompanied by various programs focused on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And you can see here our 3 voyages around the world, with the northern line, kind of the red line there, sailing always from our home port, which is Japan, where Peace Boat has its main headquarters, and traveling to the northern hemisphere. This year we did 2 voyages with our youth, one to the Arctic region from London to Norway and Iceland, and the second voyage part was from Panama to Guatemala and Mexico. So every year we're visiting around 100 ports of call. Our headquarters in the United Nations Plaza is based here in New York, and we also offer internships for youth. So I'm excited that we have so many students joining us online today. If you're ever interested in interning with Peace Boat, you can come here to our office and also gain experience at the United Nations working with an international NGO. And we sail with the logo of the SDGs on the hull of our ship. So this color wheel here represents the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So everywhere we go around the world, we're raising awareness for sustainability. And to further our mission, we decided to launch the Youth for SDGs Scholarship Program. This is a scholarship usually for young people ages 18 to 30, although we do have some younger students who are on board with us this year. So we recommend all of you to visit our website and learn how you can get involved. And this scholarship helps promote the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals through dialogue, exchange with youth on board, finding the same challenges, and creating solutions together as a youth community. We participate in all kinds of activities as well in the ports that we visit, which could be beach cleanups, also mangrove reforestation, or even sports programs, creating cultural exchange with the local communities that we visit in every port. And so recently, when we went from Panama to Guatemala and Mexico, we also had our youth leaders joining us. We had a Blue Economy Forum to end our voyage in Latin America, where we participated with more than 100 amazing change makers in Mexico. And we're just so excited to share these stories with you. So we have many of the youth who participated in these programs with us today. And our first youth leader is Molly Roseanne. So I'd like to call her up and bring her to the stage. Hi, Molly. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi everybody. My name is Molly Roseanne. I work for Peaceboat US as an intern and also as a youth representative. I was one of the youth for the SDG Scholars, as Emily mentioned. I was on the Latin America voyage. And I'm also a Blue Planet Alliance, the Global Ambassador Youth Program Coordinator. So there's two of our logos right at the bottom. And I'll tell everybody kind of how that intersects and how that kind of contributed to our voyage. So next slide, please. All right, so I first want to just kind of talk about Blue Planet Alliance, especially in some recent events in New York City. There was the End Fossil Fuels March a few days ago now. And so our mission is to promote a 100% renewable energy mission by 2045. And as you can see, there's a few people online right now that you'll hear from later in some of these pictures. But there was a few Blue Planet Alliance global ambassadors that got the chance to join us on board the Peace Boat. So there's a few of us down in the bottom right corner. There's me and two of my friends, Rigoberto and Khadija. And in that photo, we're in Panama, giving a presentation to the Panama's Ministry of Energy. And so in addition to kind of interacting with Peaceboat, we also attend high-level political forums and conferences at the United Nations. So earlier this year, we attended the UN Water Conference. And so you can see in the top right photo. And so it's really great to partner with Peaceboat on a lot of these kinds of events. So next slide, please. So I want to quickly talk about my experience on the Latin America voyage. So our first stop was in Panama. So the theme of this voyage, the Latin America voyage, was ocean conservation and sustainable energy. So we got to visit a lot of partners. At the top right is from the United Nations Environment Program, where this one was specifically a picture of the youth panel. Because we're a youth program, we always like to support other youth doing all the amazing things that they do. And the top left is a picture of us at the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute. And it's actually the only Smithsonian, if you're familiar with the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., this is the only research institute that's outside of the United States, which is really cool that we got to visit and listen to some really great talks from them. And so the bottom left, or in the middle, I guess, is an underwater photo from a partner from a partner in Panama working towards coral restoration. And so they have some really great ideas and new ideas on how to save coral in the Atlantic part of Panama. And then the last photo is of our homestay visit at the Embera Cara community. So there we learned about indigenous knowledge and holistic remedies. Next slide, please. Next up was Guatemala. And so here we kind of continued our theme of ocean conservation. So we did a turtle monitoring program. So for that, we took the weight of turtles, shell measurements, and as well as looked at the general health of the turtles, if there was any like hooks or fishing line or whatever it may be wrapped around fins, or just trying to do what we can to kind of help the turtle in that way. And then we also did, in this bottom right photo is a picture of me and my friend Neon. We every port that we went to, we did water testing. So for that, it was kind of a citizen science water testing. So it was very easy for everybody to do. We took the pH of the water as well as the temperature and the oxygen levels, just to kind of see how livable the water may be or to that climate and whatnot. So yeah, next please. And then finally, we ended our trip in Mexico. Like Emily had mentioned, we attended the Blue Economy Forum. So Blue Economy can be anything that's economic activities related to the ocean, to the seas. And some of those examples of activities could be fishing, shipping, such as like transportation and whatnot, aquaculture, and marine technology. So you'll see there's a few familiar faces for later on in the presentation in these. And we also, in many of the ports that we went to, we participated in beach cleanups. So that's very exciting. And next slide, please. So yeah, this is just a little bit about our experience in the Latin America voyage. I know that a few others will touch on this too, but traveling is really one of the greatest ways to learn about other cultures and other issues pertaining to those cultures. And it's something that I always love to promote. And I would always recommend the Youth for the SDGs program, but generally traveling and making, your mark on the world and promoting change. So thank you so much, everybody. I think we're going to have our next speaker join us. We have Ariana, if she can join me. Alrighty, there she is. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Ariana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ari Abdelnoor. You may have spotted me in some of the previous slides, as I was lucky enough to be selected for the Latin America segment of the Peace Boat voyage, alongside Molly, who just spoke, and Fran, who will be coming up soon. So before speaking about my amazing time on Peace Boat, I thought it'd be good to give a little bit of context to frame how I came across Peace Boat, speak about my time on board, as well as how it's brought value to my life since. So I'm London born and bred, and receiving my international relations master's degree from Oslo and Paris, I graduated and I was super keen to be able to sort of apply these theoretical skills in sort of a meaningful impact way to the real world. I was selected as co-head UK youth delegate to COP28, and I've since been able to translate these skills into meaningful action through direct policy development with both the UK government and other governments around the world. And it was through my role for COP that I was fortunate enough to hear about the Peace Boat programme. I had an interview with Emily, and a month later, I was embarking on a trip of a lifetime in Latin America. So with advocacy, research, and action on critical global issues through collaborative youth engagement with UN SDG campaign as an integral part of Peace Boat's mission, this international programme provided me with such a unique experiential learning and capacity building programme. So through cross-sector and cross-country collaboration among 13 scholars from different corners of the world with a broad range of expertise, the 2023 Latin America Peace Boat US voyage was able to bring together some incredible minds to work towards a common goal in light of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. So, next slide. So during, that was meant to be that. The next one, sorry. Yeah. So during this trip, we witnessed firsthand the effect of climate change-induced vulnerable livelihoods and the challenges faced by the different communities in Panama, Guatemala, and Mexico. And as one of the port activities concerning nature-based solutions to climate change and Indigenous culture, we were lucky enough to spend a night at a homestay program in the Indigenous Panamanian Emberacara village. During our time in the community, we were welcomed in by the Embera family, as well as learning how they utilize their natural resources for medicine and food and their sustainable practices. However, as the 5th driest year on record for the community in Panama, we quickly saw the effects of climate change on this previously self-sufficient community. We experienced this firsthand when, during our journey back through the Gatun River, the canoe boats, which were the only mode of transport to and from the community, became stuck due to the lack of flowing water. Not only was this change in weather patterns detrimental for both their tourism and their general livelihoods, but also for the children of the community who used the boat to get to and from school. We couldn't believe such basic rights were being deprived for the communities, and it was so eye-opening to see my own privilege and how easy it is to take things such as access to education for granted. This voyage also brought me to Guatemala, where we carried out incredible conservation efforts, such as those with turtles, as you can see. It was incredible, and it was organized by local partners from Guatemala in order to protect this endangered keystone species in the area and help maintain the biodiversity. It was incredibly inspiring, and we were really proud to be part of these sustainable conservation practices. Yet, if you look at the next slide, on our way back, we noticed this. And for those of you who can't quite make out the image, this is an image of a riverbank not far from where we carried out our conservation efforts. What had previously been the most beautiful landscape had been eclipsed by rubbish. Seeing this, I went to the partners and I asked them, I told them what a shame it was that all this rubbish from the sea had been accumulated and wound up here. So it was extremely alarming when I found out that the communities that lived around the riverbanks were actually the culprits. So they had been actively throwing rubbish into the river under the belief that they would act as a defense barrier to stop coastal erosion. They were so desperate to stop their communities from being impacted, and they had so little education about how to do this, that they had become unintentionally contributing to the problem. This showcased the fact that the climate change is not just a problem of nature, but more that of people. It's a clear lack of understanding was a testament to gaps in the education that we are exacerbating climate change-induced livelihoods, and a reality that I would not have experienced if it were not for the opportunity to immerse myself in these communities by Peace Boat. We were able to meaningfully translate these findings as these problems, as well as solutions, into reports that we wrote for the UN in framing how to foster sustainable ecosystems and resilient communities worldwide. So as a result of my work with Peace Boat, thank you. I was recently selected as the UK representative by the British Council to deliver the keynote speech at the 2023 International Youth Climate Change Conference in Sri Lanka. I was lucky enough to talk about my time on Peace Boat and share the lessons that I had learned to the 200 people that were in attendance and the hundreds of others around the world who had tuned in virtually, who were then able to spread these lessons even further. Now, fast forward a few months, and alongside my COP28 role, I'm now working for an organization called Island Innovation, where I help bring clients' visions to life by cultivating sustainable practices and fostering innovation in order to strengthen communities worldwide. My approach to this is characterized by a holistic view of environmental, economic, and social considerations. I believe true sustainability is achieved when all aspects of a project align with the goal of leaving a positive legacy for future generations. Not only would I have not gotten this job without my experience during Peace Boat and Emily's help, but I would also not be able to adequately understand how communities around the world are struggling if I had not experienced it firsthand. The lessons I've learned and the bonds I've made will serve me for life. In the same way that no man is an island, I strongly believe that the connectedness of people is an essential component to the success, both in the climate and any other sphere. We have a lot to learn from each other, and the ultimate goal is to help each other on both sides learn a new language, to fill in gaps for our understanding. And the Peace Boat was the most amazing physical and metaphorical vessel to be able to have done this. Travel is such an incredible tool that makes your world so much bigger in ways you can't even comprehend. And traveling with the Peace Boat in particular was truly the most life-changing experience I've had in so many ways. And I cannot encourage everyone listening enough to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ariana. That was really wonderful, really great, more detailed into our trip into Latin America. It was really, so yeah, thank you so much for that. Next up, I'm going to invite Amy. to continue this conversation. Hi, Amy.
Hello. Thank you all for having me. That was wonderful, Ari. I'll do my best to follow up. Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Spencer-Harf. I'm an environmental artist, educator, and researcher from Rhode Island. Go to the next slide. Great. So I just finished my Watson Fellowship, which was traveling around the world to research the intersection of art and the environment. Talk a little bit more about that. I'm an artist and then also a writer working on a book project. But let me tell you about some of the art that I've been doing, which led me to be on the Peace Boat. Go to the next slide whenever you're ready. Great. So for my research, I met with artists around the world and activists and scientists to see how creativity can be a tool for change. And then worked with muralists and made costumes, all sorts of different things, which I'll tell you about in the next slide as well. One of my favorite parts was turning this trash, so juice boxes, CDs, plastic bags, plastic bottles, all sorts of things into these costumes. On the next slide as well. Great. So I made these costumes for a residency in Taiwan, and that is for a festival that they have. And then some of my other art is also on the next slide when you get a chance. Looking at making murals that I've made. I've looked at how climate change is going to project my community in upstate New York, which is where I went to school. So those are the murals, the pictures at the bottom, looking at different impacts, including biodiversity. And then I also looked at, Lyme disease cases and also like dairy production in that area. And then I made a jacket, the one on the left, from Malati Widgson, who is a youth activist that has been working since the age of 13 to get Bali to ban plastic bags. And so she now has lots of different organizations that she started to try and help youth become activists in their own communities. It's called Youthtopia. I definitely recommend checking it out. And so all of these experiences then led me to be on the Peace Boat, which is what I'm excited to talk to you about today. So whenever you go to the next slide, that would be great. So the Peace Boat was an incredible experience. I'm so lucky to have gone to the Arctic, which is way up in the north. It was my first time going there, as everyone on the boat was. And one of my favorite things that we did was getting to see puffins, which we got to see several times. But I'll walk you through our journey first. So we started in London, where we did some plastic cleanup. So we went through London's rivers and picked up a lot of plastic and trash. And then we met with some different blue economy partners to learn about different startups that are working in the environmental and ocean space, which was great. We got to even meet with Google Arts and Culture to learn about some of their initiatives that they're doing. And then one of my favorite parts was going to Norway and getting to take a little boat out into a little island and do a kelp study program. So we got to see how you can harvest kelp in sustainable ways. And then we actually added the kelp to our soup at the end of the day and got to eat that, which was delicious. So we learned about all the different initiatives that are happening there and how important kelp forests are for the ecosystem and biodiversity in general. We also did water testing at every site. And then in Iceland, we got to go to a geothermal center and learn about how geothermal energy is made and how important that is for Iceland's community as well. I think it makes up about 30% of their energy in total, which is really, really exciting to see. And we also got to learn about how puffins are impacted by climate change, which is the biggest threat to the puffin population in Iceland, which is lovely to see so many of them and to learn about the projected impacts as well. The boat over there, which was such a wonderful experience. We spent a lot of time on the boat and got to lead workshops, work with different communities on the boat as well. So one of the highlights too was getting to speak on the boat and having our presentations translated into 3 different languages. Next slide. Great. Oh, yeah. And then the last incredible part too was getting to see so many whales. So we went on 2 different whaling expeditions in Iceland and saw some whales and dolphins and harbor porpoises as well. And while we were in Iceland, we also met with a lot of different stakeholders to learn about whaling practices and also to learn about whale conservation. And so in the top corner, one of the highlights for me, there's so many highlights, but one of the great points was learning about Last Whaling Station, which is an activist and artist group that is mobilizing to work with scientists and researchers and politicians to get Iceland to actually ban their whaling practices. So for those of you who don't know, Iceland is still whaling the fin whales, which is the second largest whale in the world. And they whale about 200 of them. They kill about 200 of them a year. And so this artist activist group is working to ban that. And because of their efforts while we were there, actually, Iceland put a temporary ban on whaling. And now they've actually required that there's more regulation around whaling and are making a much stricter process. So it's really exciting to see that, while we were in Iceland and getting to meet with these incredible stakeholders, change was happening. And, it's still made a lasting impact. So I just had an incredible time in the Arctic, and I kind of, as Ari talked about too in her expedition, it's just an amazing time to get to meet with people from around the world, be on a boat, spend so much time with them who are so passionate about the environment and passionate about their cause. And it's lifelong friendships. Even though this trip was in May and June for me, I think I still talk to my friends from there almost weekly. So really, really grateful for the connections that Peace Boat provided, for this incredible travel experience, and for all of the knowledge that I've gained from that. So this is my information if you ever want to see more of my art, and happy to talk more about the Peace Boat at any point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. It was really great for you to talk about how, at least in the beginning, specifically how your art is changing the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to invite Fran up to this. All right, there you are. Hi there. Go ahead when you're ready.
All right, thank you. Hello everyone. My name is Fran. As you saw earlier, I was in some pictures. I was doing a small feature there. I've been a delegate for different climate summits, and I had the privilege with Ari and Molly to join Peace Boat Youth for the SDGs program here in Latin America, in my region. And I wanted to start by showing my absolute favorite quote from Christiana Figueres, a Costa Rican advocate and climate leader, and well-known climate leader, which is that we actually need to be stubbornly optimistic and bear in mind why we feel the future is worth fighting for. And I think that through this program, the Latin American Voyage and the Youth for the SDGs program, I saw how many organizations and people inspire us to fight for our future. Next slide, please. So in general terms, for me, the Youth for the SDGs program was a game changer. I mean, this program allows you to have educational workshops, as you can see in the pictures, and talks on board the cruise ship, but also on each port, and not only workshops or conversations or, sort of knowledge sharing, you also have experiential learning, and you'll see later what I'm talking about. Here, I mean, there is so much to do and so many information that I'm still processing the whole experience. And I joined the program 2 months ago. I mean, it's been 2 months since we went there, and it has been amazing, to be honest. Next slide, please. As my friend said, as Molly and Ari said, we had 3 stops in Latin America. As you can see, we did water testing in Panama, in Guatemala, and in Mexico too. We went through mangroves in Guatemala. We learned a lot about their efforts in conservation and experiential learning that I was talking about. We work with turtles, we work with different animals and species to learn about marine conservation as well. And it was a really great opportunity to join local organizations and people to learn how communities are working towards the SDGs. Next one, please. In Panama, the picture is the one on the left side, on the corner that you're seeing there. We were in the Emberaquera community, and I wanted to highlight this because I think that learning from them about relations between humans and nature, and also being completely disconnected from the only world, allowed us to be present, to make friendships, and to experience the moment. And as you can see, we were there with just tiny little light, playing games and just sharing with each other. And that's something that only this program allows you to do. in the background, you are seeing like the whole picture, the kind of the wallpaper. You're seeing me in Mexico advocating against deep sea mining, which is an activity that happens in the sea and impacts marine ecosystems. A friend of mine, Neon from Trinidad and Tobago, said a couple of days ago on a UN event that he thought that there is no other educational program that allows you not only to learn but to advocate or to do activism on an activity that that you feel related to, or that you feel that is worth fighting against for. And for me, that's also another important thing that Peace Boat allows you to do, to advocate and to raise your voice and to be vocal about what you believe and what you defend. And for me, that's something very important. The other picture that you're seeing on the right corner of your screen is from Guatemala, and it was a community-based lunch that we had with the Xinca indigenous community. And for me, again, the learning and sharing with indigenous people on the ports that we were and in the countries that we were built a better understanding, not only of the current challenges in terms of climate change, but also how we can help, or how we can give the floor to these communities and this group of people, so they can join the fight and the advocacy journey. And the next one, please. And this was a big and a huge program, and I just wanted to wrap up real quick and share with you that there is a need to unite and to work together if we want to face and to fight for the climate crisis, as well as to learn while traveling. I mean, it's not only about learning and sharing our knowledge to others, it's to know that if we travel, there is so many ways to advocate, to learn, to share what we can do. And I would like to invite you that if you have any idea that can be applied on the field, an educational plan or anything, you can share with us. I'm also an advisor for the Iris Project, and this is an organization that gives small grants to everyone, to people from 15 years old to 30 years old that are doing currently projects or that have an idea and want to develop that idea. We help them and we guide them through the process. So you can learn more there, you can join us, and you can join also Peace Boat and these amazing voyages and travel around the world while learning and advocating for the causes that you defend. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Fran. It's been so wonderful to kind of relive our experience on the Latin America voyage through these photos. Yeah, thank you so much again. I think next slide will show our final speaker, Mark. Come on in. Hey, Mark, how are you doing?
Hey, everyone. I am doing great. Hello from New York City Climate Week.
So exciting.
Yes, I'm so excited to share more about myself and my journey with Peace Boat. It has been incredible to hear about these different intersections with Peace Boat. And you guys may have heard the expression in the past, a rising tide lifts all boats. Peace Boat is the boat that lifts all boats. I have not been part of a Peace Boat voyage, but I have been working with Peace Boat as a partner organization for almost 3 years now. So I have been with Sustainable Ocean Alliance for a number of years. And in my role with Sustainable Ocean Alliance, I have been working to elevate youth calls to action for increased ocean climate action. The ocean is our climate. The climate is our ocean. And Peace Boat has been working hard to ensure that these calls get elevated in the right spaces in UN climate change, ahead of UN climate change, and not just the voices of young people, but especially elevating the voices from communities that are most affected by climate change and these other ocean-related issues. It's truly been a pleasure being able to work with Peace Boat in different experiences all over the world. They have built incredible coalitions of organizations that allow us to go into spaces like COP, which is the biggest climate conference that UN hosts every year, to really enable everyone to work together for enhanced collaboration so that we can increase the call for ambition on ocean and climate action, but also so that we can collaborate together in these events, not just in the short term for these conferences, but also in the long term with the different types of initiatives that each of our organizations pilots. So what have we done with Peace Boat? I think the first time I actually met Emily may have been New York Climate Week 2 years ago. I'm trying to think about it. I was trying to put it all together chronologically. Can't really figure it out, but I think it was then. That was an excellent opportunity for me to realize the coalition building power of Peace Boat by being able to meet so many other fabulous organizations, such as Blue Planet Alliance, for example. And then being able to go with them to my first COP, COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland, was truly incredible. It was really exciting to be at this COP, especially since this is the first COP after the pandemic. It was basically delayed for 2 years. And especially when our house is on fire, delaying climate negotiations can be tricky, I'll say that. So being able to speak with them at a press conference was truly a dream come true for elevating my project on basically creating a landmark global Blue New Deal. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, sorry, I think I cut out for a second, but now I'm back. Fast forward 1 year later. Now we're at COP27 in Egypt. The annual climate conference rotates. So I was able to host an incredible evening with Emily on stage, welcoming people and our partners for this incredible partnership dinner where we all identified our capacity to just do it. We are doing this. We are working hard to elevate ambition. We are working hard to make sure that young people and Indigenous leaders are getting the spotlight they deserve as frontline communities. And I was so excited to see Peace Boat in London this May. Once again, I have not been part of a voyage, but I have had many friends and colleagues go on Peace Boat and have rave reviews about the program, about the opportunity in and of itself, and of the amazing other leaders they met. I was able to meet these incredible young leaders in the Arctic voyage at their stop in London. Peace Boat hosted an incredible Blue Innovation reception, as well as an incredible tour of the Maritime University, the Natural History Museum of London. So it was really incredible to learn about these different leaders who were coming from the Pacific to Panama, to Argentina, to the USA, to the Caribbean. It was really, really wonderful to see so many incredible people on this ship. And I know that through Peace Boat, and especially in its maiden voyages with exciting initiatives like EcoShip, which Emily will talk more about, that this will continue to be a program that allows others not just to explore by the seat of their pants, but to do that and make an impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was really wonderful. And you mentioned coalition building power. And I think especially among young people, this group of people is what really encapsulates that idea. So thank you so much for mentioning that. And yeah, as you mentioned, next up, we're going to have Emily come back in and she's going to talk about EcoShip for a little bit.
Hi, everybody. Well, thank you so much. What incredible youth we have, no? I'm so glad that we were able to share all these exciting stories with you all today. And thank you so much to the youth leaders who just gave the presentations from Latin America and the Arctic voyages for the United Nations Ocean Decade. Well, the Ocean Decade, everybody, is from 2020 to 2030. So our goal is that throughout this decade of 10 years, we're going to be raising awareness, continuing our education, citizen science, and global voyages with our Youth for the SDGs scholars, and building up to the grand scale of Peace Boat's next biggest projects, which is the EcoShip. So you can see here, we have a design for building a new ship, which will run on solar and wind power, reducing our CO2 and helping us to create a more positive impact on the ocean. So we're hoping that you all can join us, that you can be part of these programs. And as we continue the Ocean Decade, let's work together for a more sustainable ocean, climate action, and youth empowerment through all of our programs. And we hope that you can join us on board. We're going to be hosting our Youth for the SDGs programs throughout the next couple of years. And every year we will launch our scholarship program online, so you can see when you can apply. And in addition to the scholarship program, we also have volunteer opportunities on the Peace Boat. We have programs with English and Spanish teachers, and we also have translating positions on board. We call them the communication coordinators, and we look forward to welcoming you all. So let's bring all of our youth back on board and have a final closing round here, or maybe some Q&A if you guys want to have a bit of a discussion. We can have our youth to answer some questions. Welcome back, everybody.
All right, excellent. It was so great to see everybody's presentations. I'm just going to tuck the main screen backstage. Amazing. So great to hear so many stories from youth around the world who, you know, sometimes I think students get intimidated and think they have to wait till they're older or wait till they're an adult before they can act, before they can, you know, be a part of something. So it's so great to hear stories of students now who are taking initiative and not waiting too long. We're getting excited and getting involved. So we are going to take a few questions before we wrap up today. I know we have the post school hanging out with us backstage. So if you do have a question, if you put it into the chat, that'll be my cue to put that question in. If you're tuning in online, you can use the live chat on YouTube to send in some questions. But I think the place where we'll get started, the first question is just, many of you have been on board Peace Boat or been associated for different events. So I'm curious if your experiences through Peace Boat have led to any exciting collaborations. Are there any people you met on board and now you're collaborating on projects? Does anybody have a story they might want to share? And feel free just to unmute your mic and go if you do have a story. I think that's the easiest way to do things.
I can jump in quickly unless anyone else wants to. So although I wasn't actually on the Arctic voyage with Amy, we met up in London when she was here on her last few days. Just because of, you know, when you've been on Peace Boat, it's a really special kind of bond you immediately have with anyone else that's been on Peace Boat. And so I automatically knew that we'd have so many stories to share. And since we've sort of been in communication, and she's put me in touch with some people in London that she knows that, because I was thinking of sort of developing and bridging the gap between the climate sphere and perhaps documenting it in some kind of sort of photography way. And she put me in touch with some people in London. And when I come to New York, I'm going to come visit her. And it's really, really nice that the kind of bond, the automatic bond that Peace Boat gives you. And although, you know, I speak to Fran, I speak to Molly and all my Peace Boat friends from the Latin America trip, it's really, really a family, and it's really kind of a continuation. And that is facilitated by Emily, who provides so many opportunities such as this for us to share and speak and develop our own skills, you know, speaking, but also our understanding of climate and so many other skills that you don't even really intend to achieve by, you know, signing up for the Peace Boat, but you get as a result. So it's been wonderful for me to be able to create that network. And yeah, it feels like it's only just beginning. So I'm really excited to see the you know, who will join next year and all of the people on here and how they can get involved.
All right, excellent. Does anybody else want to jump in on that question, or should we jump to another one?
I'll jump in. Thank you, Ari. I'm so glad to hear that. And also thank you, Emily. We had such a wonderful time together in the UK, and I'm excited to see her in New York. My example would be from my trip on the Peace Boat with Zuza, who is also, she's from Poland, and she was also on the boat. And towards the end of it, she suggested that I reach out to Bausi, which is an artist activist organization that is using art as an educational tool to connect students. And so actually you all should definitely check it out. It's called Bausi. They have art competitions. And this year's one was focused on leaders in the climate space. So a youth from all around the world made art and poetry, all sorts of creative like expressions. And then I was invited to be a judge for the competition. So I got to look at all the incredible artwork, and it was really inspiring too. So that would not have happened without Peace Boat. So really, really grateful for the connections that Peace Boat provided.
All right, very cool. Okay, so I do have a question here online, and this might be maybe for you, Emily. And I have a class wondering, they're joining us from Toronto. It's a fourth grade class. And Danica wants to know, how many journeys that Peace Boat has made to date, and then how many are planned for 2023, 2024?
That's a great question. Well, Peace Boat has actually made already, we are actually on our 115th voyage. That means 150 times that we went around the world, traveling the entire globe. And I myself have been around the world 6 times as a full-time staff member, and really excited for this year. Our current voyage is arriving here in New York City on September 30th for the end of Climate Week. And then we have our next voyage, which is the 116th global voyage, which will be in Latin America, going down to Patagonia, which is also very exciting for exploration of the glaciers and the mountains. And then we'll have our 117th global voyage next summer, where we'll go back to the Arctic and back to Latin America. So we have, on average, 3 global voyages every year, and you're always invited to join us. Our volunteer opportunities are on the website, peaceboat.org. If you look up the volunteer section, you can find a way to get involved and join us on board.
All right, very cool. Thanks to that classroom in Toronto. Question, we know there were the 2 voyages we kind of talked about, kind of through Latin America. I know there was a visit in Panama, and then there was the Arctic voyage as well. And so these are places where there's some amazing biodiversity and life to be seen. So how did seeing that life, seeing that biodiversity, how did that maybe invigorate or, get you thinking about new projects or the work that you wanted to do?
Well, I can jump in because that actually made a small change on my journey, on my activism, and saying in a way. I mean, right now I'm collaborating with Sustainable Ocean Alliance, an organization that I met through Emily and through Mark as well. And now we are organizing an event in Costa Rica related to youth and ocean and marine conservation. So that made me change like kind of my field, learning from them, from the work that they are doing in Mexico and in Guatemala, inspired me. And to work more in ocean related issues. I was working in climate change, in the field of climate change, but I was not paying that much of attention to ocean governance and to marine conservation, marine ecosystems. And now I feel more aligned with it. So I think that that's also something inspired about Peace Boat and these voyages, that it allows you to expand your mind, your vision, and to also get involved in new projects or in new fields, such as my case.
All right, we'll open it up in case someone else wants to jump in and maybe share a little bit from their experience. No pressure.
Yeah, I'll just quickly mention. I think being someone that grew up in Minnesota and then moved to New York City, like there was I feel like that there's very, very different biodiversity in those 2 places versus where we were in Panama and Guatemala and Mexico, especially since I found out that in those regions that because the biodiversity there's so much happening. For example, there's bird watchers like to go to Guatemala because there's so many different types or species of birds. I think that there's just in general, it kind of opened my eyes to, I guess, the realities of the different regions and just how diverse one place can be versus another. And I think it, like Fran had said, opened my eyes to different issues that I can also get involved in from my place here in New York City. So I think that would be my answer to that question, is just that I have realized that there's so many more initiatives that need help and need promotion that I just want to get involved with all of them and promote any issue that I can.
All right, great. Okay, so Classroom in Florida is wondering about advice for students who might want to get a little more involved, maybe with the SDGs, maybe exploring a local group that they could maybe volunteer with. Do you have any advice for students who maybe want to get a little more involved?
Yeah, I can jump in quickly, unless Emily wanted to go.
Yeah. No, go ahead, guys. I think it's great if you can give advice to the young people since you had the experience yourselves.
Yeah, I think what was so wonderful, and I feel obviously so fortunate that we were able to go on the voyage and travel around to all these different communities. But ultimately, you know, the change starts within your home communities, and so the house I'm in right now is where I was brought up in the community that I was sort of raised by. And so I still attend the monthly meetings for the community about how they can develop sustainability projects. And I'm facilitating a conference for them in November, on working on how they can sort of connect with other communities in the UK. And so as great as it is, and as much as, you know, you should pursue this sort of international community level change, it's also really, really important to start sort of grassroots level, start with the changes, the tangible changes that you can see within your community, because they all link into one of the SDGs in some kind of way. So start with where you're from, and that will take you to so many more places than you can really kind of envision it in your tiny little hometown or wherever you may be from.
I would love to talk about that. I went to school in Florida. I'd love to know where specifically they are in Florida, because I might have some organizations I can connect them with. But I think utilizing your time as a student to connect with as many local groups as you can that suit your interests is great. You can't go wrong with just introducing yourself and making a connection. You never know where it's going to take you. So I would just say utilize the time and freedom that you have now as a student to explore all the things, go beyond your school, go beyond your campus, and actually try and connect with the community members. Tell them about what you want to do, what you're interested in exploring. What I've learned from Peace Boat is that there's so many people who want to jump in and help connect you. So don't be afraid. Know that putting yourself out there is just step one into becoming your own SDG champion. So go forth.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. So that crew is in Fort Lauderdale. So if you do have any ideas, you could send them to myself or Emily, and we can pass that on to the classroom. So to wrap us up today, you know, this morning we hosted Paul Salopek. He's a journalist. He's traveling the world right now. He started about a decade ago, walking from Ethiopia. He's following our ancestral migration path. Eventually, he's going to make it to Terra del Fuego in South America. And along the way, he's collecting stories of technology, stories of climate change, stories of, you know, culture and things like that. And so he's shared, you know, a lot of stories about struggles in different countries, and how climate, it doesn't matter who he talks to, from farmers, you know, to people living in the cities, they're seeing changes and impacts. And when we watch the news, we see these changes. We see meetings from big global, you know, leaders getting together, and sometimes it feels like progress isn't being made. So, you know, what drives you guys? What gives you guys hope? What gets you excited about, you know, our future, protecting our ocean, and working towards climate change goals? Oh, Molly, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that what has driven me, I think, a lot in the past, but I'm only realizing now, is just how much of a community that, you know, activism, whether on any issue, can be, especially when it comes to youth engagement. I mean, by this group of people alone, I already am just so excited to kind of continue on these issues that we've been working on. So I think that for me is the biggest, I guess, having that sense of community, because it can be lonely, kind of, if you feel like you're the only one promoting an issue or care about an issue. It can feel very lonely and isolating. But once you find that community, because there is a community for every issue out there, it can be really empowering. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Does anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I guess just piggybacking off sort of what Molly says, and it's about finding kind of your people that are encouraging you to do the kind of work and activism that you see as meaningful for your community or for the global community. And sort of as Fran was saying before about this stubborn optimism, I think that's ultimately what it boils down to. And that optimism really, really is fueled by the people that you hang out with in your echo chamber. And off the back of the Peace Boat, I can't tell you how many sort of emails I sent out, how much excitement I had to kind of just get stuck in, because I realized sort of power that we have as young people and how many people actually listen to you as a result of being a young person or being passionate. And you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and all these cheesy cliches, but it's so true. And so it was really surrounding myself by people that were passionate, that encouraged me and gave me the kind of confidence in my own abilities to make a change.
Excellent. And I think with our last couple minutes, does anybody have a project, maybe a new project that they're really excited about, that they want to just take a minute to share before we wrap up today? Anything on the horizon you're really looking forward to? I know some of you in New York, maybe you're excited to see the Peace Boat on the 30th when it comes into port. Is there anything you're looking forward to, a project or something like a watch this space message?
For the organization I work for, we've actually just given 5 delegates from the Caribbean an opportunity, fully funded, to attend COP28 and have their voices heard. So I'm really, really excited about that. And it's a project that I'm working on for next year as well, that I hope will grow and give loads more young people an opportunity, a funded opportunity to go to COP and really have their voices heard on the global stage. So I'm very excited about that.
Awesome. Very cool.
I'll add one too as well. Yeah, I think that inspired by the kelp study program that we did in the Peace Boat, I'm excited to try and make a costume out of kelp and do something like that. So, stay tuned. We'll see how that works, but definitely related to the Arctic. So very much inspired by it.
Very cool. All right. Well, Emily, thank you so much for gathering this incredible team of youth for us today. It was so great to hear all of your stories, your ideas. And really, I think there's no better kind of promotion for Peace Boat than hearing these stories, seeing what it leads to. And I think all of you, it looks like you have bright futures in conservation, in environmental activism, using art and science communication. So it's pretty exciting. And you guys are just one small sample of what I imagine is thousands to tens of thousands who have been inspired through their journey with Peace Boat. Very, very cool.
Well, thank you so much, Joe, and thanks everybody for participating. I'm so glad to have so many students tuned in today. So I hope we can join you all again online soon.
Excellent. Well, we're going to sign off for today. Good luck to everybody who's in New York for Climate Week. And we can't wait for another connection. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Happy Climate Week.
Happy Climate Week.